Dear students, I just want you to know that I am totally understanding that a lot of you might not have been prepared for what's required in a 4-credit hybrid course. I do take into consideration that this course was previously taught as totally online. Totally in class, highly developed into a culture of group interaction, which is very difficult to do when you are online and working full-time jobs. Considering the gravity of everything, I thought I would decide that it might be best to take a little bit of a different approach for your final. So what I'm going to do is give you an individual final assignment rather than a group assignment. Now this is how it will go, and I want you to work with this with the online week and have it ready for the following week, meaning the last class we get together, which I believe will be the 17th of December. Now, this is what I've decided to do. What I've decided to do is ask you, because this is not a heavy week, we only have chapter 15 this week in organizational development and change. I want you to take any one of the 15 chapters that we covered in class. Okay? Again, let me repeat. Any one of the 15 chapters that we covered in class, and I want you to, this week, draw up an outline, if you will, a strategic plan, if you will, that will kind of correlate your particular job to the theory that we studied in that chapter. Now, if you are not working, if you're out of work, you can relate to an organization or a job that you have worked at, maybe got laid off, or maybe even a job you would like to get. But the point is, get the theory of the chapter that we studied in management / leadership and relate it to a particular job. Now, you could talk about conflict, you could talk about organizational change, you could talk about leadership in the company, you can talk about group interaction, anything at all that you want to discuss. There were 15 chapters. You want to talk what happens with organizational change in a company? Okay, that will work as well. Now, the other option is, if you're really uncomfortable with talking about your job or a place that, like I've just identified, you can also write about one of the principles that you've learned in the book. Perhaps, say, if you're talking about leadership, how do you articulate a good leader? What makes a good leader? You could even talk about the upcoming presidency, how you articulate some of the challenges we might have with a different type of leadership in the country. You may want to talk about maybe some great leaders like Julius Caesar or even Adolf Hitler. You could also talk about something that we discussed a lot, and that is SWOT analysis. How do you see strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in an organization you might be interested in? So a lot of things you can talk about with this final. So how do I want you to do this particular outline that is due? It says group activity, but I'm changing that to individual outline. What is that outline going to look like? Okay, here it goes, very specifically. The outline is going to be comprised of, number one, we're going to put this in management terms, your strategic plan for writing this paper. Now, as we all learned, the strategic plan supports the goals. The strategic plan is supported by goals and objectives, very specifically. So what I'd like you to do in this outline is I'd like you to develop 6 or 7 individual goals that will accomplish the strategic plan. And the strategic plan is how you intend on solving the problem. All right, or how you intend on discussing all of the different points regarding the strategy of your paper. Here's an example. Say your goal is to decide what happens when it rains, okay? That's your strategic plan. What happens when it rains? That's what you want to learn about. Well, in that strategy, okay, you're going to develop a hypothesis of what you think now. Now let's say it's something really ridiculous. So now you've got your strategic plan, what it is that you're trying to find out about, and then you've got the hypothesis that supports that plan. Okay, so here's the hypothesis. When it rains, the sun is out. Now that's what you believe now before you actually go ahead and do your research. We know that's not true, unless it's a sun shower, but we're not going there. But that is what you think now. So you want to develop something. So if you're talking about, say for example, problems are best solved in the storming stages. Well, how do you prove that? All right, one way or another. Maybe your research might say that its problems are best solved in the norming stages. So what you do is you develop what you're trying to find out first. Then under that, what is it that you're trying to prove? That's your hypothesis. And then under that, you're going to come up with 5 or 6 goals that are going to support that hypothesis. So for example, if you're saying when it rains, the sun's out, okay, then your first goal might be, well, what happens when it rains? Find that out with supportive research. The second goal might be, what happens when the sun comes out? With supportive research. The third thing might be, what happens when it rains and the sun comes out? What happens when the sun is out? What type of, is there any precipitation? So I think you see where this is going. Now, what I want you to do is, with each one of those goals, I want you to develop an outline that is going to be supportive of those goals. In other words, I want you to come up with the outline and suggested recommendations. What would come up, what would solve each one of those goals? Now you haven't done it yet. This is only the outline, and that is what is going to be due for this week. I think it's like 75 points or something. So here again, this is toward your final. Number one is going to be, what is your topic going to be about? What are you going to discuss? The next thing, number 2, develop a hypothesis of what you think now before you do your research. Number 3, come up with 6 or 7, I said maybe 5 or 6, but probably 6 or 7 supportive goals that support that hypothesis. How are you going to go about proving it? Now, you have 2 weeks to do this, really. All of this coming week and all of next week, all right, before the final is due. Once you establish all of those goals, what I want you to do is I want you, through the research that you do, come up with 6 or 7 PowerPoint slides that you will present on your final day of class for the 4 hours we're together. Make your presentation about, say, 10 minutes tops. Okay? Now, what those slides are going to show are what you found out with each one of those goals that you set in your outline that you're going to be working on for this online week. You should have like flashcards and stuff to support each one of those slides that you do, each one of those goals. I don't want the slides to be busy. I want you to be able to explain what each one of those goals do and what you found out. So really, let's say you come up with 5 or 6 slides, or 6 or 7, okay, that support the goal, all those goals, that support your strategic plan, which is a result of your hypotheses. Now, here's the thing. When you make your PowerPoint presentations, I will be grading you for your final based on those PowerPoints and your outline. So what will be due for next week is clearly going to be your outline. All right? That is, it's going to be due, what's today? Today's the 5th. It's going to be due, say, on the, let's see, we got together yesterday, which is the 3rd. It'll be due on the 10th. That's when the outline will be due. All week long, you're going to be working on those PowerPoint slides. Okay? That's basically what you're going to do. And then when you finish your slides, make one final slide after you do all your goal slides, which is going to be a summary and conclusion. Did you prove your hypotheses? Is what you thought initially what you found out after you did your research or not? And then your conclusion is why. Why is it the way you thought, or why is it the way you, why did it come out different than the way you initially thought? And that is it. That's the entire rest of what is going to be due. All right, for week 8. So I think your final is worth like 300 points. And I think your outline is 75 points. Okay? So when you present your final and your slides on the last week, right, I'm going to leave it open. Actually, I'm going to release next, on the week after next, I'm going to release the online week in week 7. So I'll leave it open that you can upload your PowerPoint slides. Now remember, each slide is a goal to accomplish a strategic plan. So each slide should have like a URL or something, or some type of a reference. Just want to know where you got your information, what you researched. In fact, the other thing you can do is you can give suggested references on your outline too, and that will cover it. You can use my lectures, you can use PowerPoint slides, you can use the book, whatever you need, Google, whatever you need to do your research. Even some of the Harvard Business Review things that I gave you. And I think the only other thing is 1 or 2 discussions, and that's it. So I'm going to upload the modules for your PowerPoint slides. Now, I am going to give you not 1, not 2, but 3 attempts on your PowerPoint slides, and I will grade the last attempt. Okay? As far as your outline, you're only going to get 1 for that, for this week. But in the final week, you can upload it up to 3 times, and I'll get the last one. That's worth 300 points. So outside of that, I've opened up all the other modules, so catch up what you've missed, do the best you can, and that's pretty much it. And I'll put up all the readings for the next 2 weeks as well. That's it. Signing off, Professor Chico.